All right, let's go. So I have lots of stickers with me too, but I won't be handing them out to all of you. So everyone that speaks to me afterwards, you'll get some shiny flame stickers, and if you're lucky, some Flutter and Dash pins, or Flutter and Friends stickers that have built-in NFC, so you can program the stickers. It's pretty cool. But I'm not here to talk about stickers. I'm here to talk about a game engine called Flame. And I'll start with introducing myself. So I'm Lukas, as they said. I'm also called Spydon online if you hang out on GitHub or on Discord. I'm part of the Flame engine core team. And I'm a Flutter Dart GDE, like some of the other speakers in here too. And I'm organizing the Flutter and Friends conference, and my co-organizer Daria is over here too. You heard her talk earlier. Can really recommend joining that. It's in Stockholm in Sweden, and it's lots of social activities, and yeah, you shouldn't miss out on that. I used to work at DICE, which is now part of EA. So that's kind of how I got into the game development scene from the beginning. But to many people's surprise, I'm not a gamer at all. I really suck at gaming. Like, we had to game at DICE 2 hours every Thursday, and everyone that got me in their team, they're like, oh no, just throwing hand grenades at your own team, and yeah. But I love building games and game engines, so I got that going for me at least. So I'm part of something called Bluefire Open Source Collective, and we're building lots of packages and things for the Flutter and Dart ecosystem. Currently we're 6 core members, pretty much spread out over all the world, so it's terrible to organize meetings because we're all in different time zones. And yeah, some big packages that we've built are Flame, and Flame is the game engine I'm going to talk about. Then we have audio players, one of the biggest audio packages in Flutter, and Photo View, and a physics engine called Forge 2D, and lots more. I think we have like 50 or 60 packages or something now. And around this Bluefire Open Source Collective, we have a big and friendly community which hangs out on a Discord server which have like 10,000 people on it, I think. So, what is Flame? How many people in here have heard about Flame before? Hands up. That's quite a fair bit. How many have actually used it? Still a few. Great. That's pretty good, because this is a very introductory talk to Flame. So Flame is the most popular game engine for Flutter, but it is also pretty much the only game engine for Flutter. So we have like 10,000 stars on GitHub, lots of commits, and lots of forks and lots of contributors. And if you like coding open source projects, I can recommend joining Hacktoberfest, which DigitalOcean and GitHub are doing now, where you get a t-shirt if you do 6 PRs to an open source repository that have the Hacktoberfest tag, and it's usually a lot of fun. It's used by 10,000 public repositories, and I have no idea how many games that are built in private, because we have no measurement of that. And on Pub there is something called Flutter Favorites, which are curated packages that they have gone through, just checked that the documentation is good and they are well maintained, etc. And we have one of those stamps on there. We recently released a new version, so yeah, we usually have 1 or 2 releases every month, so it's quite active. And it's just another widget, so I will show you how that works later. So why did we choose Flutter to build our game engine on top of it? Especially when I talk on game dev conferences, then people are like, oh, but why don't you use C++ and Rust and some low-level stuff? And that totally makes sense if you want to build some big fancy 3D engine which really needs to get super much performance out of every line of code that you write. But Flutter is pretty perfect for game development for the types of games that we're building. Like mostly these casual 2D types of games. And I will show you some examples what you can build later. Because in Flutter we have access to a Canvas barebones API that we can just build whatever we want on top of without having to care about all of the underlying platforms. And we have a really high rendering performance without having to care much. And it's a mature ecosystem now. Like Flame has been around for 7 years now, and Flutter a little bit longer. And of course, the thing that most people come to Flutter for is the multi-platform. Like just writing your game once and then you can spew it out on both big mobile platforms like Linux, Mac OS, Windows, the web. I even won a competition for building a game for TV last year. So that was nice. And yeah, you can work so fast with Flutter and Flame. Like you can really do fast prototyping and really fast iterations with all of the debug tools that you have available for you. So as I said earlier, Flame is just another widget, so it can live anywhere in your widget tree. So even if you don't want to write the whole game, you could have Flame as a button or as an animation or something somewhere. And since Flutter has tree shaking, it removes all the code that it doesn't need in the packages that you use, so usually doesn't add on that much to your app. And inside of Flame, we have a similar tree as the widget tree, but it's called the component tree, because components work a little bit different than widgets. So widgets want to re-render as seldom as possible to save battery. But games are always a bit more complex than these types of normal business apps and so on. So components, they render as often as possible. They just bounce around in something called a game loop. And you can have, this is one of the most common questions, like can you use widgets inside of Flame? And the easy question, the easy answer is no, but the more advanced answer is yes, you can use something that we call the overlay system, put widgets on top of Flame. So to start off, you start extending the Flame game class, and you create one of these onload methods, and in here you load things. So like maybe audio and all kinds of assets, animations and images. And then meanwhile that is loading, you're showing some kind of spinner or something. And if you don't want to have any other Flutter stuff in there, then you can just do run app and put your game inside of a game widget, and bam, your game is full screen everywhere. So this is the classic game loop that I was speaking about earlier. How many people have heard about this architectural pattern, the game loop, before? Yeah, so it's kind of similar amount to the people that have tried Flame. So this is used within pretty much all game engines, and it's a very simple concept. You first run an update iteration, and you update the state of everything that you have in your game. And after that, you render it out on the screen, so that you show it on the screen. And then when you're done with that, you go back to update again, and this DT here, it stands for delta time, and that measures how long it was since the last time it ran update. And then you can determine how long things should move, for example, so that if you have a faster device, you don't want your player to move faster. And then you just go back and forth like that all the time. And that is how all of the components work too. And then you can, of course, get inputs here in between too. That is kind of interrupting that. So this is what that looks like in the most basic component. But a lot of the time inside of Flame, you don't have to touch these update and render methods, or at least not the render methods, because there are already lots and lots of pre-built components that you can use for your use cases. So you don't have to handle the rendering yourself. You can just say, oh, I want to use this image or this animation. Yeah, Flame handles the rest. And as you saw earlier, we have this component tree. So any component in Flame can have a child. So you can imagine you having a player component, for example, and then maybe it picks up a weapon. That could be a weapon component, and then you just add that to the, you just write like add weapon when that happens, and then your player will all of a sudden walk around with a weapon. And the same if you drop it, then you just do remove weapon. And a common mistake from the beginning is that people call these update and render methods manually, but you should absolutely not do that, because then this will happen twice, because this is already handled by the Flame component system. And our most common base component is called position component. And inside of this you have a position, a size, a scale and an angle. So it's pretty much represents anything that you want to visually show on the screen that has these parameters. And this thing is called vector 2 here. It sounds pretty scary if you're not used to vector math, but it's basically just an x and a y. So the position is x and a y, and the size for the x and y is width and height, and the scale is how much you scale it in the different directions. So this is a very simple component that is built in. It's called a sprite component, and it just shows a static image. For some reason in game development, images aren't called images, they're called sprites. And this isn't much fun. Maybe you use this for having a rock or a wall or something. You have something static in your game. So later when you want to do some animations, the most simple animations you can do, they are built on sprite sheets. And just like Daria was talking about earlier, if you remember these old books where you like just flick the pages really quickly, then you can kind of see an animation. And this is built on the same concept. It just changes the image very quickly, and then you will get an animation that will look something like this. And then you can just take one of these sprite sheets. There are lots of them for free online. And just put it into a sprite animating component, and then you have a walking person. Oh, here's the slide missing here. We also have one called sprite animation group component. Very long name. But then you can change the animation depending on some states. So maybe now it's walking, then it's doing one animation, but then you can also set it to like, okay, now it should be sleeping or dying or attacking, and then you can have different animations for all those states. So in Flame we have something called bridge packages, because Flame is quite modular. So if you don't want to build something into Flame, you can build bridge packages that connect it to other packages. For example, Forge 2D, like we have up here, is a physics engine based on Box 2D. So if you want to have some like real-looking physics, then you can pull that in. Or like usually you need some kind of audio, then you can pull in a Flame audio or another audio package. And yeah, I think there are about 40 of these bridge packages now. And some other features we have a camera and a viewport built in, like most game engines, so you can just move around the camera or tell the camera to follow the player so that you don't have to handle all that math yourself. We have collision detection, which is also something that is quite hard to do yourself efficiently. It's nice to have built in. And now recently we have added something called a post-processing API, because shaders are a new thing that has just like landed in Flutter. And now you can use shaders pretty much anywhere inside of Flame. I would say that it's actually easier to use shaders in Flame than in actual Flutter. So you can do some really cool stuff with that, which I will show in a video later. We have an effects system, and an effect is something that happens to a component over time. So you can say, if I want player to jump. Then I add the jump effect and say that it should jump this high and it should be over this time, like it should take 1 second for it to jump, and it should change with a curve. So either you can just have it linear, then we just move like that, or you can have like a bouncing curve, so it's like that, or whatever you want. And of course we have like lots of gesture and input handling, and you can use gamepads and so on too. And we have a lot of different types of optimizations, for example, sprite batching if you're building some really complex game, and the physics engine that I was talking about earlier. And we have a pretty nice built-in debug mode too, so you can just set debug mode equals to true on any component, and that and its subtree will show lots of information for you. And we also have a DevTools extension. If you have ever opened the DevTools tab from Flutter, then you will, if you are in a Flame project, it will open up a little Flame tab in there for you, where you can like pause your game, step through your game, and look through the component tree. And, yeah, all those things are really handy when your game starts to become big and you have to start debugging it when something is wrong. Let's see if I have better luck with my video. So here is a game called Gunslinger, and this video is like 14 minutes long, so I will just jump around a little bit in it. This game is quite fun. Like it has lots of different weapons and quite addictive. So I would check that out if I were you. So that is an example of something you can build with Flame. Here is one that recently was released on Steam. So you can release games on Steam with Flame too. And it's called the Dark Blade, I think. It's also pretty cool. And here is, to my knowledge at least, the biggest Flame game that exists in amount of users, because it has, I think, 80,000 monthly active users now. And yeah, don't get into this, it's super addictive. And here is another pretty cool game too, where it's a band that have built a game around so every time they release a new song, they also release a new level in the game. So you like play it to their song.
Tú y yo fuimos a una, pero era malísima, ¿te acuerdas?
And here's like one of the first games that were popular in Flame. You like spin around the map and doing puzzles. And there are lots and lots of these types of like casual games that you can write really quick but also monetize quite well. And here is an example. It's a little bit bright in here, but this game uses a lot of shaders. So this was an example for the shaders. So you can see how it has glows and reflections on everything. I think you can see a bit clearer in the beginning, the actual reflections in the water. Oh yeah. And a lot of people ask, but what about 3D? And like we have just started to get some support from the Flutter team so we can actually start doing 3D. So we have an experimental package called Flame 3D, which you can try out if you're keen on 3D. But if you want to build a big 3D game, then I wouldn't recommend using Flame. Then I would recommend using one of the bigger game engines. But it's still quite fun to play around with. And maybe you want just some 3D elements in your app or your game, and then it's still perfect. So this is one like a really old video from the Flutter scene. So you can see that, it clearly works. So now you might wonder, how do I get started with Flame? So on our website we have lots of tutorials that are always up to date with the latest Flame version. There are also like content creators on YouTube creating Flame tutorials, which are really nice. And like I will also say in here, join our Discord, because as I said, there are like 10,000 people on there, and if you ever get stuck with anything or you want some inspiration, then it's a great place to be, and lots of friendly people there. Yeah, and so if you get stuck, don't be afraid to ask for help. And yeah, we have a great community going in there. We have a Stack Overflow tag called Flame, but Stack Overflow in general seems to have gone down so much now when AI has taken over. We have GitHub issues where you can, if you have a problem with Flame, you can open an issue there, or if you have a feature request, or if you just are stuck but don't want to join the Discord. And the Discord, I think that QR code is going to the Discord if you want to join it. And, oh, sorry, back to the QR code. No worries. All right, so I have, how many of these pins do I have? Okay, I have 2 of these pins. So for the best questions, or the first questions I'll take, I'll give out these pins. And for anyone else that wants these shiny stickers later, just come and talk to me. So we have one question over there. Oh.